In this video, I'm going to show you how to turn on this Fanuc robot and jog it in joint mode. So the first thing we do, make sure nothing's in the way of the robot, make sure no people are in the general area right here that could get hit by the robot when we start moving it around. Below the robot is going to be the controller. There's a couple of switches on here. We want to make sure the emergency stop is pulled out. It should be, but you can just verify this visually, or you can just pull on it. Next, we're going to flip this switch into the vertical position. That's going to get things started. That'll turn the controller on, and it'll also turn on our teach pendant, which I'll get to in a second. Now, a couple more switches on here real quick. The green button is to start the robot when it's in automatic mode, which just means it runs unattended. We won't be doing that in this particular video. The last is there's a switch with a key in it. Make sure it's turned to the T1 position. That's going to be to the right. If it's in automatic, it won't let us do very much with the teach pendant. Now, our teach pendant should show some signs of life. We'll switch over to that. There'll be a screen with some little dots floating around. We'll give it just a couple of seconds to get ready. Okay, so this is the initial screen. We're not really going to do much from this screen in our class. We'll be doing things a slightly different way, as in going to, say, this menu button and going through here. Don't worry about that for right this second. What we want to do is get a hold of the teach pendant. You can hold it with your right hand or your left hand or both. There's a button on the back here called the dead man switch. It's a 3-position switch. So if you hold it in a little bit, that's going to allow you to move the robot around manually. If you pull it all the way in, it's going to stop the robot. And if you let go of it, it will stop the robot. You only need to hold one of the switches, not both. We also want to make sure that this switch on the top of the teach pendant is in the on position. It means the teach pendant is on and ready to be manipulated. If it's off and the switch on the controller is in auto, it'll run by itself if everything is set up correctly. It wouldn't let you jog it directly. We want to make sure it's going to jog in the joint coordinate system. So I'm going to go to my coordinate button down here. And when I press it a couple times, you can see it cycling through all of the different coordinate systems. We want to leave it in joint. So you just hover over that, right, and just let it go. You don't have to press enter or anything. We can verify up here that it's in joint mode. And later on, we'll talk about what that means. Okay, next up. I'm going to hold down the dead man switch. I'm going to hit this reset button. I'm going to hold down shift. And let's start with the J1 axis. When I press this button, it's going to very slowly move the robot about its J1 axis. That's going to be the axis around the base of the robot. If it's going extremely slow, up here we can see it's at 10%. We can bump that up to 100%. It will bump up in 50% increments because I have the shift held. If I let go of shift, I can adjust it in 5% increments. We hold down shift again, let it go to 100, and now we can see that robot move just a little bit faster, right? So the J1 axis is around the base. The J2 axis is right above it. It's going to tend to move the end of arm tooling in and out in this configuration. J3 is next, right? And we can kind of see where that is rotating about. Next is J4, right? This is getting nearer to the end of arm tooling. J5, right, closer to the end of arm tooling. And then J6, this one's going to go a little bit quicker, is the end of arm tooling. Now, when we're just jogging it around, be careful not to move it too far in any axis. There are bundles of wires inside of this robot. It's not set up to move an unlimited amount in any direction. So the J6 axis, you don't want to spin it more than 360 degrees. It could get tangled up. It does have a dual check safety system, so hopefully nothing bad happens, but try not to, move it too far. And your instructor will kind of explain what too far means in this course. That's it for jogging. Your instructor will have, activities for you to do as far as where to move it around to, and you can get used to jogging in joint. Later on, we'll talk about setting up a coordinate system and getting it to move in X, Y, and Z. As you jog it around in joint, you'll kind of notice you can move one at a time. It seems really time consuming to get it to go where you want to, but it's a good way to remember which axis is which on the robot. Like I mentioned, there's 6 axes on any of these robots in this room, and the joint mode is a good way to kind of get used to them. To turn the robot off, we don't have to do anything with the teach pendant. So it's not like a computer where you need to go to shut down and give it a minute to shut down correctly. We just go to the controller and flip that same switch as when we started. So that's it for this video. Just an intro, turning the robot on, figuring out what a couple of the switches are, and jogging around in joint mode. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below.